Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful February the 25th, 2020. Grondo Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I had a flashback this morning. I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I had a pimple on my face. At least I think it was a pimple. It might have been a hair bump. I thought I was 16 all over again.
Yeah, it could have been a pimple, or it could have been those birds paying you back when you look up in the air. Sometimes the birds hang out in the trees, Big C, and they splatter people. It's all fair in love and war. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, Big C Sports is powered by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear Welcome to the Show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he will do his thing, and I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really appreciate the way those things are going. So, Big C, I know you do a lot of hunting and fishing. So, did you see the pimple while you were hunting, looking up in trees, or when you woke up, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it was in this morning's mirror, so I don't think any birds got into my house. So I'm going to think it was Mother Nature attacking me.
It could have been one of those birds. You know, it was faking like it was dead, Big Z, hoping that they could get out when you open the door. Sometimes animals do that. I know they're getting smarter as they learn to Google things, too, and how to not get caught when good old boys are out hunting. I really appreciate a lot of things that are going on in sports. And you know, not to be what they call, okay, it's called manscaping, okay? And I think I've been manscaping for a long time. I started shaving my head, oh man, almost a decade ago now. And mainly it was because when I saw Michael Jordan doing his thing, and then a lot of African American men, they started shaving too. But what is it about the Manscaping Society versus the society of guys that they wear their beards ungroomed? They got some hair in their face, but it looks like a puzzle not put together. Why is manscaping important to some and not to everybody? Mixing your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, that's how I've been living the past several months. I got the hair all over my face. I haven't manicured or anything like that. I was just letting it go on all the natural. But it also helps here in the wintertime. You know, I don't need to put a scarf around my neck and my face in the cold. I have that natural insulation built in. But I think, you know, we put too much emphasis on grooming in society, the appearance of other people, and you want to be judgmental. Basically about how somebody looks. I'm too old trying to be out there trying to impress everybody. So I can run around all natural. I don't have any hair on the top of my head. I have it all on my face.
Yeah, I understand. I save everything. I do believe in man grooming, but they called it manscaping. I was watching this fight. You know, the fight that just happened down in Vegas with Wilder and Fury. And now the women that are scantily clad, they go into the ring, and all they do is stand there. And they actually had around their waist, because I noticed things like that, they had an advertisement. It said manscaping. So are they telling men that they want us to skate more? Or tell me why does that make sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, that part of the fight went beyond me, Charlton. I got there, you know, as everything was starting to throw punches. I get tired of all the prelims with all the showmanship that's going on.
Yeah.
Get me to the fight. That's what I came there for. I mean, I've seen so many ring girls over the years.
Yeah.
I'm not amused by them anymore. You know, you become numb to certain situations in life.
Yeah, I guess it's like going to a smorgasbord. I don't want fifths. I just want seconds, but not fifths. And sometimes it's more than we can stand. Big C, I do want to make sure we pay homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline. And I really want to, there's a reason I call you the Mystic. You know, they're experienced in helping families and veterans, especially when they need help. I was watching the debate last night, the town hall meeting. I think Buttigieg was there doing his thing. And they had this question about how you're going to solve this crisis going on in our country that nobody talks about. And it's about veterans taking their own lives, and he being a former veteran too. He tried to answer that question. Now, I'm not saying we did it first, but I do know since you brought it up over the summertime, we've been doing it every show, and now it's becoming part of the presidential election debate. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, everyone wanted to sit up and have their opinions about the celebration of Kobe Bryant and those other members who lost their life in that helicopter crash, Charlton, those 9 people. When you think about that pales to the number of people that are lost every day in America, Charlton, through suicide, whether it's military veterans at a rate of about 20 a day or just normal everyday citizens, Charlton, that even perils the number of military veterans. And suicide is a horrific disease. It's not something that just happens out of the blue. People want to say alcoholism is something that happens out of the blue. They want to say drug addiction is something that happens out of the blue. No, these are diseases that people are inflicted with when they feel they have nowhere else to turn. And suicide is the ultimate place of no place to turn to, Charlton, in society. And as it's coming up now in presidential debates, as well as debated every day in America, celebration of life is something that you celebrate while somebody is alive. We can always have thoughts and prayers of somebody who has passed on. But let's give these thoughts and prayers to keep somebody alive. When you have the ability in this country to help somebody to stay alive through compassion and communication, Charlton, this is something we don't do enough in this country. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline number is just one avenue, one branch on a tree to try to help stem the tide of that horrific disease. But as we sit there, and not to knock on the Kobe celebration, but if we gave that much emphasis to everybody in life, not just a sports figure who we celebrated for his accolades and professionalism on the court. People didn't celebrate Kobe as a father, and I think that was his greatest gift to everybody, and especially to his family, was him being a father, not an athlete. And that's what we have to think about. The everyday citizens of America, how do we save them?
I think that's very well said. A lot of us need to just know that there's help out there. That's why I love giving that out. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you are online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and they can get some help. Also, really appreciate talking about launching real estate TV show in the spring of 2020, having good dialogue with that over the last couple of days. The goal is to recruit 100 real estate brokers to put their property listings on television, and that way you get a chance to tell your client when you're at the listing. You can do all the ancillary marketing, whether it's internet, whether it's sending out flyers, whether it's, door hangers, whatever it is, people can do that. But when you can put your property on television, like McDonald's or like Ford or like Cadillac, then obviously you stand out above the crowd. So really appreciate coming to that. I want to touch on one more thing that I noticed about the debate last night. I'm always, I watch politics on Valentine's Day. That tell you how romantic my life is, BC. At the same time, I saw the Manscaped commercial, so maybe I got to do more of that too. But when I heard Buttigieg was asking questions, and it's always a black woman they have her ask these questions. I don't know if they're telling them what questions to ask or if it's really an impromptu question. But she says to a man who lives in, mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and she says, so if you were elected president, what would you do for black Americans? And I'm just paraphrasing, but his response was, well, I don't understand your pain, but I know I know the history of African Americans, how they're being treated in this country. I know African American women have been the backbone of our society. At the same time, they last acknowledged, etc. And we heard it, yada, yada, yada. But for a man to be 37 years old and he wants to be president of 13% of the United States, Big C, I'm not advocating for anybody. But how do you say at 37, I don't know anything about African Americans, but vote for me, Big C? I thought that was funny.
Well, you have to look at his background and have an understanding of his background. If Buttigieg was elected, he would be the first openly gay president of the United States. So here's a man who understands pain and ostracism, Charlton, in America because of the lifestyle of him and his partner. He has also served as a decorated military veteran, Charlton. So He understands pain in life. And when the question is always asked in America, and even in sports,
yeah,
how is it to be black? You know, what is it about black athletes?
Yeah.
Why is it always the blacks who have to ask that question?
Yeah.
Why can't white people ask and answer that question, Charlton? And so black people are always put on the spot.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when Doug Williams was asked, you know, what does it feel like to be a black quarterback?
Yeah.
Well, Doug Williams had been black his entire life and a quarterback his entire life.
Yeah.
But a white reporter asked that question. Why is that question never asked of a white quarterback? You know, what do you think it would be like to be a black quarterback?
Yeah.
You know, that question is never put on the opposite side of the fence.
Yeah.
So asking the question of Buttigieg, you know, about pain, he could inflict his own lifestyle into that and know what it's like to be a part of the LGBT community in the United States and the ostracism that they face.
Yeah, everybody has their own opinion, but I would love to see what are you going to do about reparations because we know what there's been so many things that have happened. The Marshall Plan that rebuilt Germany. We had so many plans that even built the United States. The GI Bills that wasn't given to Black Americans. It was given to them.
As long as America is run by rich old white men in the Congress and the Senate, these questions are foregone conclusions, Charlton. Until American society changes and its elected officials to mirror what society represents out there, the questions are just redundant questions because they're never going to get an answer because you're not going to tell Mitch McConnell, who's in his 70s, that you need to do something for black people. He's from Kentucky, you know, slave state. This is his mantra. And everybody else who's sitting there in the Senate also, when you look at the mirror of these people, Charlton, and see which states they represent, you're asking them. We can always ask a president, what is he going to do? He can sign an executive order. But until the Senate puts it on the floor and signs it, Charlton, there'll never be anything. So we can always ask presidents, just like everyone said, Barack Obama, what was he going to do for black people? Everybody thought they were going to get a bucket of chicken and a Cadillac in the driveway. He was still handcuffed by the Senate. So regardless of being the first known black president in the United States, he still had a Senate and a Congress that was Republican held, that everything he tried to put forth, they would block.
I would still go back to give me that 13th Amendment, Big C. Give me $100 million and a mule. I don't need 40 acres. I can buy 40 acres with $100 million, Big C. I'm not even being flippant. I'm being serious. We give trillions of dollars to build up foreign countries. It wouldn't be too much to ask. And speaking of politics,
but that's that's the thing called voting. When you can pool all the black people together and get them with the same agenda, Charlton. But when you think about the number of black people who don't vote, who don't put their voice forward, then they lose out on these opportunities. I mean, and this is in every state across the country. If we had a 100% voting, but when you have a president elected and they get 67 million votes, Charlton, 67, and the person who beat him in the populist vote got 70 million votes, what's the population of the United States? 360 plus million people. So when you get less than, you get 42% of the population that votes. No one can ask for anything when they don't go out there and ask for it, and you ask for it by voting. So if you refuse to vote, then you can't expect things in return.
You can't expect if you don't vote for it. That's why I'm asking for the $100 million and the mule, and I'm not even being flippant about it. It's amazing how much money we've spent since World War II building up foreign country, Big C, but not the people who are part of this country. At the same time,
those foreign countries, when you look at the following in those foreign countries and those people vote, not only you build them up, Charlton, but they have to pay back that. They just don't get a free loan. They get that with interest. And so just like when Obama bailed out the auto industry, they have to pay that money back to the government.
You got to get it to pay it back. A lot of people have got things, Marshall Plan in Germany, also the GI Bill. There's so many people that have benefited from the government help. And so everybody go out and vote and do the best you can to read up on people. Big C's, I want to touch a little bit on the NBA, the power rankings. We're right back into the swing of things. Actually, Steph Curry's going to be playing, I believe, Sunday. So he's coming back off of that broken wrist. We'll talk about that a little later. But I just want to get your thoughts again. You can do the Big C pause. We just had that pause when we had the NBA All-Star Game. Amazing event, in my opinion. I think 3 days. A lot of people get to see some of the nouveau riche NBA players, and now people can regroup. And then we just came off the Kobe Bryant, celebration down at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, and now we're right back into the thick of things. with basketball. And I just want to touch also on the game that Boston had against the Lakers. I believe it was on Sunday at Staples Center. What a fabulous game where LeBron James hits kind of a jumper, fadeaway jumper to win that game. But it just shows me how close basketball would be contested. Milwaukee Bucks, are you still feeling them right now? They're the top team in the league, at least with the top record. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they've done everything that they should do this year. After last year having the best record in the league, coming back this year having the best record also, Charlton, and on pace to win a minimum of 70 games this season. How can you doubt what they're doing as a team at this point?
Yeah, you think about it. The Bucks, they officially clinched the postseason appearance in just 56 games. That's the earliest done in 15 years. Another reason, when you look at Giannis, he currently leads the NBA in both fast break points per game and also points in the paint, Big C. So I tell you, those big guys that get down in the paint, it helps them win. Over the past 20 seasons, no player has led the NBA in both categories in the same season. Big C, number 2, and I would say the NBA's prodigal team right now. I know the Celtics have more championships than the Lakers. I think they have 17 overall, the Lakers 16 overall. But I would put right now, America's favorite team, I would say would be the LA Lakers, just because of so many things that happen in the NBA universe. And everybody has their own opinion. When even Bill Russell wore a Kobe jersey at the ceremony, actually at the game in Los Angeles, just the respect runs deep for a lot of people. But you look about LeBron James, and he's on a path to finish as the NBA's leader in assists for the first time as a 35-year-old man. There was talk that Kobe wouldn't pass the ball, and Shaquille O'Neal was very funny, and some guys went to Shaq and said, hey, Kobe won't pass the ball, and he said there's no I in team. He said, yeah, but there's an M-E in team, and everybody laughed about it. I thought that was funny. Well, LeBron's passing the ball. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, LeBron has always been one of the assist leaders on the teams that he has played for. When his days in Cleveland and in Miami, he led both of those teams in assists. So this is nothing new. He was leading the Lakers in assists last year. When you think about the Lakers, their Achilles heels, Charlton, is that they don't have any clutch shooters other than LeBron.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody that you can go to in the fourth quarter other than LeBron. So that's a concentrated effort once you get to the playoffs, is that people will polarize LeBron more, taking the shot out of his hand, forcing another Laker to knock it down.
Yeah.
When you look at Anthony Davis has never made a team better wherever he's been. He was in New Orleans for 7 years.
Yeah.
They made the playoff once.
Yeah.
And so as people want to be goo-goo gaga about La La Land right now, Anthony Davis right now, amongst starters in the NBA, I think he's 57th in points scored in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
He's averaging like 4.1 points a game in the fourth quarter, Charlton, this season. So if you take him out of the game in the fourth quarter, which he's been a non-factor, and you eliminate LeBron getting the shot up in the air, you have an answer for the Lakers.
Yeah, they're going to have to keep an eye on that. And speaking of LeBron leading, maybe going to finish as an NBA assist leader, Jerry West did that when he was 33 years old as opposed to LeBron being 35. That was back in 1971-72 season. You know how we like to play our march to old Canada, our home and native land. Big C, the Raptors, I would say they're maybe, I don't know if I really buying them right now, but I know you can't knock a team that's 42-15. They're in a really nice pace. And to come back and defend their NBA championship without the NBA's finals MVP, Kawhi Leonard, I'm sure a lot of the players are showing that we're more than just one player that decided to go back to where he came from. Big C, as a lot of people have been told over the years. Are you buying the Raptors being the number 3 team, which would be the number 2 team in the Eastern Conference? Big C, your thoughts?
I'm not sure they're not the number 2 team in the NBA. Right now, I put them ahead of the Lakers as far as their productivity in the second half of games, Charlton. The Lakers are a team that struggles in the fourth quarter. You saw the game against Boston where it came down to a last shot with a little under 30 seconds to go for the Lakers to win that game. They don't have the separation in the latter part of the season with the old legs that they have in the roster.
Yeah.
When you look at where Toronto is, they gained momentum after the first month and a half of the season. They struggled to get their continuity back without Leonard in the lineup.
Yeah.
But once they found their place, Charlton, they've been the second-best team in the NBA.
Yeah.
And they've been the best team in the NBA over the last month and a half.
Yeah, they haven't one loss since January of 15. That means the good old boys, they're passing the ball, and they're getting their whole team involved. And the Raptors, they do have the 12th easiest remaining schedule in the NBA going to the rest of the year. Boston has the 19th easiest schedule. Who says it's easy? When you got to shoot over guys that are 7 feet tall that can block a shot, then it's not easy for anything. Boston Celtics, I think you learn a lot about who wants the ball in the final 20 seconds of a game. Remember the thing with Aaron Rodgers? You want him with his hands on the football the last 2 minutes. I think people who can realize lately know you don't want Aaron Rodgers having the ball the last 2 minutes. Boston Celtics coming in number 4 power rankings. And I think about Jason Tatum, dropped 41 against the Lakers. He really is emerging as a franchise player. Kemba Walker missed the game with a sore knee. And that 41 points showed me if you have any common sense, build your team around Jason Tatum. I know they brought in Kemba Walker. They got rid of Kyrie Irving. But this brother can play some basketball. He's only 21 years old. See your thoughts.
Well, Kyrie Irving's a liability. He's been that way with every team that he's been with. You've seen teams get better every time he leaves. And the Boston Celtics are no different. And you think about them pushing the Los Angeles Lakers to the wire without their point guard, Kemba Walker, in the game. But Jason Tatum was a star prior to Kyrie Irving showing up, as well as Jaylen Brown. They have some pieces in Boston as you get late in the year with those young legs that are beneficial. And so when you look at the Eastern Conference and you look at Toronto, you look at Milwaukee, you look at Boston, that is a road that's going to be tough to travel for anybody, Charlton. And the team that comes out of those three, and I like Indiana in that mix also because they got the young legs and a healthy Donovan Mitchell back, Charlton. They're going to pose a huge test for anybody who comes out of the West.
And think about this for the Celtics. There's nothing like Johnny Morris Bird with the rebound. Bird scores! I remember that back on the parquet floor back at the old Boston Garden that did not have any air conditioning, Big Z, not even in the locker rooms. But the Celtics, they're 7-3 in games where Walker has been out. Maybe someone hit him on the knee before the game in Los Angeles. Keep in mind, only one win has come against a team with an above 500 record. That was Philadelphia. You like going up to the Mile High Country, Big C. I know Rocky Mountain High. I hear the fishing is really good up in Denver, Colorado, coming in with a number 5 in the power rankings. The Nuggets, to me, they had their opportunity last year when they took on a team in the Portland Trailblazers, and Portland beat them. And they had the home court advantage, too, in Denver. To me, it felt like that was their time to get over. They're still rising. Portland is hurt and banged up right now. Are you buying Coach Mike Malone getting the Denver Rockets to the NBA Western Conference Finals? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if you look at a comparison between them and the team that beat them in the Western semifinals last year in Portland, Charlton, it's a night and day difference. This is a consistent team that you have in Denver, where Portland is down at the bottom of the heap trying to find out how far they can fall still. Denver is a solid organization. There's non-selfish players on that roster, which makes for a big push when you get to the playoffs. They caught Portland last year when Portland was hot. Portland swept them. Golden State swept Portland. So it's about being hot in that 7-game stretch.
And you know, up at Mile High, if they can get people up to the Mile High territory, they say your lungs burn. That's not the only thing burning in Denver, but the lungs definitely do burn, Big C, especially the manscaping. That's Manscaped. We need to be sponsored by Manscaped, Big C. You said you had a pimple. I shaved my head. What if we had a way to clear pimples and have a cleaner shave on the head? Do you think we qualify for Manscaped? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to have to Google and find out what manscaping is. That's a little bit out of my vernacular there.
I think it just means shave, but we'll have to ask those Marine Guard girls down there at MGM Marina down in Las Vegas, Big C. I'm sure it's pleasing for everybody. Number 6, the LA Clippers. Thinking of manscaping, the Clippers were expected with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and Coach Doc Rivers. Of course, Ballmer has more money than a lot of people on the West Coast, Big C. But they seem to have a little bit of a hitch in their giddy-up, and they've lost. I mean, they won a game last night, obviously. But this is the team that you would think they're a lot better than their record indicates. They have almost 20 losses, 37-19 on the season, Big C. I would think coming into this week that now that we've gotten past the All-Star game, we're going to see why they did that load management that Kawhi Leonard has become famous for. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, their 3 stars have only played together in 7 games this year, and they're 5-2 in those 7 games that they played, including the game last night. But load management, I mean, that's something that's overrated, underrated. You have to have continuity when you're playing. But what may work as an advantage to them, Charlton, is that they're the fresher team when it comes to the playoffs, and they'll be playing a higher-ranked team in the seeding And it may bode well for them because that higher-ranked team will be a little more tired than what the Clippers is.
Yeah, and the Clippers, obviously, when you're in L.A., I mean, there's a talk about who's the best team in L.A. I know the Lakers are they're their prodigal favorite in L.A. They're L.A.'s first kid, Big C. The Clippers are the second kid. But the Clippers may just have more if they're healthy. I would still love to see the Lakers in the NBA Finals just for so many reasons, Big C. That's deeper than just basketball. Number 7 in the power rankings. Here's a team that's not much taller than Sierra Canyon High School, which was California State champions last year, Big C. In fact, the last 2 years, a lot of NBA players, their sons play at that school in Southern California. But you think about the Houston Rockets, Big C, with Harden and Westbrook, and then they're the two guys that got to be healthy going down the stretch. I know you said you don't mind seeing the short. I won't call it a short game. How do you call a guy that's 6'6" short? At the same time, they don't have a 7-footer, running down the paint for them like Capella anymore. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you watched the Golden State Warriors do that, Charlton, for 3 years, not having 7-footer running up and down this court. All he would do is start the game and then go down and sit.
Yeah.
Draymond Green played center, just like with the Chicago Bulls. Dennis Rodman played center at 6'6", 6'7". So you don't need a big man if you're not running through a big man in the NBA. When you look around the league, the L.A. Lakers, as you might want to call them, the best team in the West.
Yeah.
What big man are they running through? They're not. Anthony Davis is out on the wing as much as he is down on the paint. So they're not looking at him as a post player. So what the Houston Rockets are doing is that they're looking to take your legs away from you.
Yeah.
And if they can go out there and run, playing that small ball, what they're doing, if they can give you 48 minutes of hell like Nolan Richardson used to do down at the University of Arkansas, then you can be in trouble in the NBA.
You can be in trouble in the NBA, and we know James Harden's not dealing with any Manscaped commercials. He's not going to escape that beard for any reason in the universe, Big C. I know he has that thing going on with them, and we'll see what happens if you're a young team, and they're young, and they can probably run people out of the gym. But you do have JaVale McGee down in L.A. He does come in and go off the bench, but he's a big guy. And then you have Davis. He's at 6'10", 6'11", so they do have some height there. I want to swing it down to the South, Big C, because the Miami Heat, they're a team that was streaking a while ago, but now they're being knocked around a little bit of chink in their armor. A great classy thing for them. They did retire Dwayne Wade's number 3 jersey in the rafters now. And so when you think about that, the kind of a 3-day jersey retirement celebration, think about what happened to Miami when they brought in LeBron. They had Jesus Sutherland with Ray Allen. They even had Big Shaq come down there. It's kind of been a pit stop for a lot of players, but nobody wanted to retire there except for Dwayne Wade. I think that's great. But do you think Jimmy Butler is the guy that's going to help take them at least to the Eastern Conference Finals? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Dwayne Wade was the only player drafted by that organization that could retire there, Charlton. The rest of them were just passing through.
Yeah.
You think about the Miami Dolphins, Heat in their last run at the NBA title when they had LeBron James on the roster. This was a team that was favored twice in the finals and choked. They choked against the San Antonio Spurs. They choked against the Dallas Mavericks, Charlton. So just because you have a great team on paper with LeBron on the roster doesn't mean that you're going to win a title and that your favorite. Jimmy Butler always needs to find a group of young guys that are willing to follow him. You look when he left Chicago, the team got worse. You look when he left Philadelphia, the team got worse because you had 2 young budding superstars that did not want to listen. They wanted the team for themselves.
Yeah.
He seemed to have gone down to Miami and ignited some interest in the younger players down there. They started following. But you're going to find stretches in the season where you struggle. This is the NBA. Nobody's perfect. But when you get into the playoffs, it's about the heart that you bring to the game.
And speaking of heart coming to the game, 2 more before we hit the Big C pause. Utah Jazz coming in at the number 9 power ranking. And at a time they had won 19 wins in 21 games, and that's a distant memory. And they're coming down the stretch a little bit struggling, Big C. Their defense ranks 22nd in the league, defensive overall ratings in the past 11 games, allowing 115 points a game. So I know that Utah, obviously, when you get up in the mountains, they say they could be a factor to fatigue, and their crowd really gets on people. But I just don't have a lot of faith in Utah really advancing in the West, or do you see things differently, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, no, Utah's not going to get there. They're not the Denver of the West. They have a great center in Gobert, who's a great defender, but his offensive game doesn't equal his defensive game. And
right.
When you're getting out with teams with smaller players and you're running a lot, you take those big men out of the game.
Yeah, you take them out of the game. And the final thought, just our opinion on Big C's, power rankings for NBA teams. Oklahoma City, the Thunder, Big C, the Oklahoma City Thunder, them good old boys with Chris Paul, they're really rolling. This team they've gotten rid of Russell Westbrook, but think about who's been down there. Perkins was down there. Of course, Durant was there. Westbrook was there. Harden was there. But they're still a team that's being led by Chris Paul, which I thought could have been the All-Star event game MVP. But Chris Paul seems to have found his legs under him. I thought as he was at Houston that maybe he was playing his best basketball. I think Chris Paul's playing his best basketball now. Maybe enough to win the first-round game, but not get out of the second. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, if there was a comeback player in the NBA award, Chris Paul would get it with what he has done down at OKC. Not only did he go there, Charlton, but he signed a contract extension to be there.
Yeah.
What OKC is dealing with is a renaissance with a guard that is willing to get the ball to everybody. Russ would average a triple-double, but it wasn't a team-friendly triple-double when he was doing it, because in clutch time he would shoot too much and not disperse the ball. When you think about the host of players that they've had down there with Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Serge Ibaka, Charlton, Paul George, they've had an all-star team that has played there. Wouldn't it be ironic if they could make it to the Western semifinals once again without all of those big names?
That would be ironic, Big C, because I don't think that's going to happen for them good old boys but in OKC. But, stranger things have happened. I want to take what's right now called the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about manscaping. We need to do our own Manscaped commercial. We'll take the pause and be right back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause, brought to you by Manscaped on Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker.com. And an app that I really love is by Google. Our Alexa, just say Google. Our Alexa plays Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really appreciate that. Also launching in the spring of 2020 a real estate listing show so that brokers can put their properties on television and let people know, yes, you can get flyers in the mail, you can go on the internet to search, but when they come to your house and they show you they're going to put your listing on TV, part of the Big C team, really appreciate that. Looking for 100 brokers to put their properties on the Big C real estate listing. Big C, I want to go back to the NBA power rankings because I want to get your thoughts on something. We talk about big men all the time, and maybe I'm starting to lean your way, but not really, because I think about one of the big guys in the league, Joel Embiid, and I remember when they lost in the playoffs last year, Kawhi Leonard hit that just out of this world jump shot from the corner of the paint, Big C, and actually from the corner, and it bounced around the rim and went in. Big man on the floor came to tears because his heart was in it. Even though some people call him lazy, they say he could work out harder. Well, big guys can't work out as hard as a small guy because their frame is not meant to do that. But give me your feelings on Philadelphia, Big C. They had a 21-point loss at Milwaukee, and that's a lot of cause for concerns. Ben Simmons had a hitch in his giddy-up lately. But do they have what you call that go-get-you attitude that you want to see for a team advancing, Big C? Your thoughts?
No, they don't. I see a lazy team in Philadelphia. I see a guy with too big of an ego in Embiid, who is always spending more time on social media than what he does is about making his body better. He's never played a complete season in the NBA. He's always been injured. And I look at the outing that he had against Atlanta, even though it was against Atlanta, one of the worst teams in the NBA, where he scores 49 points. Why can't he get you 30 points a night? If he is a dominant 7-footer and he's supposed to be the best center in the league, why can he not get you 30 points a night? Giannis does it.
Yeah.
He gets to 30 points a night playing out on the wing at 7 feet tall. But, he finds it hard to do that, and he finds it hard to stay healthy. Yeah. So he has been lazy throughout his entire years. First 3 years in the league, he never played more than 40 games a year. and he still hasn't played more than 60 games in an NBA season.
Let me ask you, Big C, what people call lazy, could it be the fact that the man had some foot problems? And a lot of big guys, they have plantar fasciitis, and even someone that runs every now and then, it's hard to get around and be as aggressive as a guy that maybe weighs 200 pounds when you're around 280. They may say he's 260, but he's about 280 in my opinion. It's harder on big guys because they have foot problems, and what people might call lazy, it may be called, hey, I'm trying to save myself. That make any sense, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, all athletes deal with foot problems. I played football with broken feet when I was playing, and I weighed as much as Embiid. So when you're thinking about that as a guy who was sitting there trying to save himself, if I made the money that Embiid was playing, I would have never been hurt.
Yeah.
But you know, when you look at the amount of money that these guys play and the inconsistency that they have, but they have no problem spending time on their social media or out in the public, Charlton, and they're not really concerned about their health. If you're overweight as a professional athlete and the amount of money that you make, you have a full-time dietitian. So you're too lazy to get a dietitian to get there and have a chef cooking all and preparing all of your meals for you, Charlton. That's laziness.
Well, that's interesting. I've always wanted to see this man, do great. And again, but a lot of people have said different things about him. And I don't know because I don't know him personally, but I just hope that he can finish strong in the latter part of his career. I just hope that he can do that. Big C, I want to ask your thoughts on something. Northern California, Sacramento Kings playing the Golden State Warriors. And there's so much talk about Steph Curry and how the best shooter probably in the history of the Golden State Warriors. There's maybe in the top 3 or 4 in the history of the league, but when it comes to 3 points, no one shot the ball better than Steph Curry. So maybe he is the best shooter in the universe, at least from 3-point baskets, Big C. There's talk that he's going to come back and play Sunday against the Washington Wizards. And you know what? You can't nurse. This goes back into Embiid. How's Joel Embiid different than Steph Curry? Steph Curry also had the ankle problems when he came into the league, and he couldn't stay healthy. But whatever he did, and whatever the doctors did, and the trainers did, to help him manage that. Of course, he doesn't have the weight on his body that Joel Embiid has. But here's Steph Curry that's coming back from breaking his hand, and some people are saying, well, he shouldn't come back. They have nowhere to go. They want to lose as many games as possible. But that's something about the warrior inside of him that wants to come back. But do you think it's too soon or just on time, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, like I said last week, he was healthy a month ago.
Yeah.
His hand was completely healed from the surgery. The problem with Steph Curry is that he has some nerve damage, alleged nerve damage in that left hand. And the only way you're going to work through that is by working the hand, Charlton, and see how it performs in actual competition.
Yeah.
All athletes want to go out and perform. That's what they want to do. If you're a competitor, if you're not a competitor, then you don't mind sitting around on the sideline watching everybody play. We've seen the competitiveness of Steph Curry throughout his career, having the multiple ankle surgeries that he has had in his career to make sure that he's a better ball player.
Yeah.
And going and sticking with a strict regimen, Charlton, not getting overweight. You think about a guy who has not been active. If this was Embiid, he would have put on 25 pounds, 30 pounds in that time that he's been out, but Steph Curry has maintained his health.
Yeah. That's interesting to say. And it really is something to look at, too, because sometimes a lot of guys, they get the money, like, what am I going to play hard for? I mean, I don't know. I don't know the man personally, but it really is a contrast when you bring up Steph Curry, who's been injured on his lower extremities and now his upper extremity, and nothing seems to stop him. Tonight's NBA schedule for February 25th. You have Charlotte at Indiana. Game's already underway. Milwaukee is at Toronto. Is this another preview of the Eastern Conference Finals, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it potentially can. You got the top 2 teams in the East combating each other, Charlton, and it would be great to see those teams in a repeat from last year's performance. It was outstanding. Toronto knocked them off, when it came down to putting Kawhi against Giannis.
Yeah.
But Giannis is on a mission this year. When you look at his statistics, and they're much better than what they were last year. This is a guy that didn't sit down and feel sorry for himself, didn't go into a corner and cry. He was just as emotional as any player in the NBA.
Yeah.
But he knows that the bottom line is, I got to keep getting better every year. And we've seen that with Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
This is a team that's gotten better in all season, and they have the best record in the NBA this season.
Yeah, I want to see the man climb the mountaintop before they eventually trade him to L.A. like Kareem did many, many moons ago. OKC at Chicago, Detroit at Denver, Boston is at Portland. I hope that Dame is better, but I don't think he's going to play tonight. You have New Orleans at the L.A. Lakers, Sacramento Kings at Golden State Warriors. I want to go back to L.A. Just had the Kobe Bryant celebration on Monday. So people still have emotions about whatever. They got to go forward in life. We all have to. New Orleans has Zion Williamson coming in to the Lakers to take on the King himself, LeBron James. And I'm going to put Davis in there too, Big C. This is L.A. where everything is magnified. If you score 10 points, it's a big 10 points. If you get 5 assists, it's a big 5 assists. If a guy scores 30, it's almost like he scored 50 because it's magnified in L.A. Will Zion Williamson push too hard because he wants to show that he has that Mamba mentality in L.A. where everybody loves basketball? Big C, your thoughts?
You know, and I know the term Mamba mentality. I mean, that's called professional mentality.
Yeah.
Show me a professional athlete who doesn't want to compete and doesn't want to be the best, who hasn't trained hard to get to be where they are. So as we use the term Mamba mentality too loosely, then we discredit all those other great athletes who have gone out there to achieve the level that they've achieved.
Yeah.
When I look at Zion Williams in this game, these are the type of games that LeBron James gets up for. When the next guy up on the mantle is supposed to be the next great one, playing against the greatest player in the league nowadays, Charlton, his game always rises. So he's always there to meet any challenge. Yeah. And as we look at Zion Williams, and Zion Williams has played at extremely well level since he's come back into the lineup for the New Orleans Pelicans. But now the stretch run comes, Charlton, where they're going to be playing some competitive teams.
Yeah.
The game he had against the Golden State Warriors, the worst team in the league,
yeah.
That's nothing to write home about. How will he do against the Los Angeles Lakers, which are a much better team that can put more bodies on him than what the Warriors can?
Yeah.
We'll see how good he is tonight.
I want to ask you a question because I just wanted for clarification. You said that Joel Embiid lacks that, let's say, Mamba mentality that you say a lot of guys don't need. It's called working hard and work ethic and that burning desire that people either have it or they don't have it. But there are so many people that question if Joel Embiid had that. But we know he was injured too. So Zion Williamson, he's never really been healthy. There's always something that's happened to him. Maybe he tries to dunk too hard. Maybe he comes down on his feet too hard. Whatever it is, he also is coming back from some injuries. I mean, we can't get inside another man's head, Big C. But do you think he has more Kobe in him, or more the good old boy from Philadelphia, Big C, that doesn't want to play Embiid? Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I'll ask you this question first. What is Mamba mentality?
Just get it done. Get up and get it done. Be the reason that it happens.
You think athletes prior to Kobe Bryant didn't do that?
Well, but you just said Joel Embiid didn't have that, and I was wanting to draw that comparison.
But that's what I'm saying. We're saying Mamba mentality, and I don't know what Mamba mentality meant, because when I played, and every guy that I played with always tried to be the best. I mean, we've seen great athletes over the decades. Jerry Rice, what do you call his mentality? Walter Payton, what would you call his mentality? And every other great superstar that has been out there has had a strict training regimen over time and was the greatest in their sports. So when I look at Joel Embiid, as I said from day one, he's lazy. He was lazy at Kansas. He never played a complete season.
Yeah.
He's never played a complete season in the NBA. A lot of injuries will come when you're not in peak condition. And when he came into the league, he was overweight.
Yeah.
When I look at Zion Williams, he's been overweight since he's been into the NBA. Zion Williams is maybe 6'5 and a half, 6'6".
Yeah.
He is not 6'7", as a lot of people think.
Right.
The thing about the NBA versus high school and college basketball is that the season is 3 times as long.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. We have seen bodies similar to Zion Williams since the NBA inception. He's nothing new. He's just enamored because of social media. People think that he's something different that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
He will have his ups and downs in his career. All you got to do is defend his left hand. He is a one-dimensional player.
Yeah.
It seems like coaches haven't seen enough tape on him. But he is a one-dimensional player. He is going to go 85% of the time that he has the ball to his left.
Yeah.
Very easy to defend. All you do is roll the defense to that side, and you shut down Zion Williams' game.
It's a lot like what Toronto did to Giannis back last year in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, they ran a zone against Giannis. They put a 3-1 zone against Giannis because they knew he was going to penetrate. And if they put 3 guys at the free throw line, then you shut down the lane.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing what happens in LA, but we know it's going to be magnified no matter what happens. I think the Lakers still get the win in that, but it might be a preview of what happens in the first round of the NBA playoffs, especially if New Orleans can catch Memphis. And it's all based on, is it a foul? Is it not a foul? Is it a travel? Is it not a travel? We know it's always in the eye of the beholder. Big C, I love this time of year because baseball is starting. You know, we just came off of the Super Bowl. Of course, I think football's still king. I love NBA. I think it is fantastic. I love seeing the dominant athletes that get out there and put everything that they have on the court. I love boxing and MMA. We just had a big celebration for the heavyweight championship fight down in Las Vegas with Fury and also Wilder, Big C. And now, of course, baseball starting up, and people are still, you know, throwing baseballs at Altuve, Big C, saying, oops, I didn't see it. That makes any sense. But now, March Madness is right around the corner. March Madness, a lot of the March Madness, they're stomping for the African-American athlete and the free labor that brings in $1 billion. I contrast that juxtaposed to the HBCs, Big C, where 80% of the black doctors in America come out of the HBCs. 50%, actually 80% of the judges that come out of the HBCs. And then doctors, about 50%. Even Kamala Harris came out of an HBC. Now, I know this always is talk about, look at how much money we're making off of these boys, these kids that love to wear the hat and the shoes and the jerseys. But I wonder, and we know it's $1 billion industry, primarily based on the backs of black men. I want to just get this, I want to get your thought on what I'm going to say. NCAA report, $1.1 billion in revenue. This is going back to 2017, so we know it's more for 18. We haven't finished with the 19-20 year yet. But most of that money comes from the D1 men's basketball tournament. In 2016, the NCAA extended its television agreement with CBS Sports and Turner Broadcasting through 2032, an $8.8 billion deal. Now, with that, about 30 Division I schools each, they bring in at least $100 million, Big C. I want to ask you a question. Why are more academic successes coming out of the HBCs than this rush of black men going into the blue blood programs where they're making $8 billion TV contracts come to realization, but most of the success for these black athletes, it comes out of the HBCs? Does that make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, when you had an opportunity to go to college as a young man, did you have an opportunity to go to an HBC?
No. Well, I can say yes, but no, I wasn't recruited by
it. But you chose not to go to one. You chose to go to a mainstream university, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with most of these young men. If you compare this to housing, if you have an opportunity to live in a residential area versus a neighborhood that's gated, when you're living in a residential gated neighborhood versus a project scenario, which one would you rather live in?
Yeah.
That's what these young men are making a choice on. They're making a lifelong decision, Charlton, in these opportunities. Yes, HBCs flourished prior to desegregation. But once desegregation came along, then these kids that could only go to HBCs as a majority of kids that would go to HBCs.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they start going to these mainstream universities. You got to understand, black athletes have been in these prominent colleges for a long, long time. A lot of people don't realize that. The Ivy League had more black athletes in the early 1900s than any conference in America, the Ivy League.
Yeah.
Then the Big Ten followed that, Charlton, and the third was the Pac-8 out there on the West Coast.
Yeah.
The SEC, the ACC, the Big 12 had no black athletes, Charlton, prior to the 30s. So when you think about black athletes and where they've gone, they went to the HBC colleges, but they were also accepted in the Ivy League, the Big Ten, and the Pac-8 during that time. So this is nothing new. They've been around in these institutions long before the revenue got big.
Yeah, and that's why the revenue got big. And just, it's Black History Month, and so people say, well, why should that matter to anybody beyond the administrators and alumni, the HBCs themselves? And I just want to leave this out there, not only for myself, but for anybody that follows this. The black colleges play an important role in the creation and propaganda of the black professional class. Despite constituting only 3% of four-year colleges in the country, the HBCUs have produced, as we mentioned, 80% of the black judges in the United States, 50% of the black lawyers, 50% of the black doctors, 40% of the black engineers, 40% of the black members of Congress, 13% of the black CEOs in America, and they also produce this election's only black American candidate in U.S. presidency, Kamala Harris, Big C, out of Howard University. I would love for that to be more known. Maybe that's why there's Big C Sports. But again, you asked me why didn't I go to an HBCU? In my naivety, I wasn't really aware of it, Big C. I was just West Coast centric. But now that I've gotten older and wiser, I'm looking into it. That's why I want to make sure I get that information out there. We talk about kids going to big schools with big stadiums and 100,000 seat stadiums, Big C. But for the successful African Americans, for the most part, they come from the HBCUs. And I hope POTUS is really going to fund them more so this week. Big C, your thoughts?
Did you steer any of your children to potentially go to an HBC? I mean, so when we look at that, it falls upon the parents more than it does the athletes, Charlton. We can always say that the kids are going to these Power 5 conference schools that have huge economic wealth. And that's what the kid looks at is economic wealth.
Yeah.
If I want to go live in a dormitory that looks like a high-rise apartment complex, that's what I would rather live in than in a strip center mall, Charlton. And so when you get a kid from a small town who hasn't had the greatest opportunities in life, and you have a coach walking there with championship rings on his finger, and they take you on a tour of that university, they fly you in instead of busing or training you in, and tell you this is what campus life is around here. And you talk to the student athletes, and you see all the campus amenities. This is what every young man wants to be a part of, to not only go to school there, but to have a potential life in that town afterwards. And that's one of the greatest growing periods for any young person in life. Is that when you choose a college, you have to say, can I spend the rest of my life in this city? I know I did that when I chose university. Could I spend the rest of my life in that city? Is there going to be things for me beyond the athletic field, once I finish up with athletics and academics, that I can expand my life upon? And that's what a lot of these kids are drawn to also.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. We were talking just yesterday about how many players were at the Kobe Bryant celebration at Staples Center. You know, James Harden, Westbrook, so many of them that were at that celebration and then got on a private plane and flew back to start their games at tip-off, different parts of the country. So that's, you have access to money and power. And a lot of the bigger programs definitely have that. But I still congratulate the HBCs that have done a great job in creating that African-American middle class, and I hope that it keeps growing. I want to just, we talked about boxing the other day, just yesterday actually, about Wilder and also Tyson Fury. And I told you that my thinking is Joshua and Fury will fight before Wilder. And my thinking is he exercises right, that he had that 30-day window for a rematch. But I still think that's ego. You talked about his trainer, being a fighter, and won a gold medal in the '84 Olympics down in Los Angeles. If you really like somebody, you still got to take that time to take some time off to go get retrained. And I know we talked about it yesterday, Big C. I think Fury right now, if Wilder got in the ring again, he would beat him again because the boxing hasn't gone away, and that's something that Wilder has to learn. If you're in the corner for Wilder, would you have him just take a year off and fight somebody lesser, but work on boxing, not just trying to knock somebody out with one punch? Big C, your thoughts?
He can never beat Fury. If he waited 3 months, 6 months, a year and a half, he can never beat Tyson Fury. He was lucky to survive the first fight with Tyson Fury because Tyson Fury had came in and had lost 150 pounds to get ready for that fight. You think about somebody losing 150 pounds of body mass. This guy was well up over 400 pounds at one point when they approached him about the fight. And the reason why they approached him about the first fight, because he was enormously out of shape. And they felt that this would be an opportunity for Wilder to beat a world-ranked competitor because he was so out of shape. He took the body weight down. And he came in and he went 12 rounds after losing all of that mass and fluid out of his body. And the guy still couldn't knock him out. Hit him with the best thing he ever had. And Fury showed him that my chin is greater than any chin that you've ever faced. But you're not a boxer. You are a slugger. When you think about Wilder's used to hitting a heavy bag in the gym. And that's the same way he fights in the ring, that he's going to hit a stationary target. And just like I said before, we can call people bums, and that's the terminology that is used for boxers. No one knows the records of the guys that he was beating. And so when you have an inflated record coming in, okay, he's knocked out 41 guys. But the 41 guys, you don't know the names of them. You don't know how many fights they have. It's just like we try to compare it to MMA. When you look at an MMA champion, may have a record of 13-4, but he's the champion. Because he got lucky, but he got knocked out 4 times also. In the heavyweight boxing ranks, you get knocked out 4 times, you are not going to be a champion. Plain and simple, it just doesn't happen. And so the MMA, you got to grade that a lot different than what you grade professional boxing. And so when you look and say, who has Deontay Wilder knocked out?
Yeah.
We don't know because we don't have a history of those guys. They're not putting their records up to show the quality of competitors that he had.
Yeah.
But we know what happened when he came up against a quality competitor. He could not compete.
Yeah, I think if even, no matter what our opinions are, I would still love to see him take a year if he's going to even fight him. But that's my opinion. I still love the role.
He's already enacted the 30-day window as far as the rematch.
Yeah.
He's put that on the table already.
Yeah.
So that fight is going to happen. That fight will come back down to Vegas again, and unfortunately, he'll be 0-2-1 against Fury.
Well, if people put the money on Fury, you know how Vegas is. That means Wilder wins in a knockout, and we'll have part 4 of that fiasco coming up. I do want to say you can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker.com. The apps that I really love are called Google and Alexa, brought to you by Manscaped. You just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can also follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, and also a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really appreciate that happening. Also coming in spring of 2020, Big C team doing the real estate listing channel, looking for 100 brokers that want to put their real estate listings on television, and really looking forward to that happening. So I know that whether it's boxing, Big C, or whether it's MMA fighting, that sport will always be around because there's something about men that love to get beaten up. I don't know what it is. I guess that's been going on since the beginning of the time. So if you're thinking we're going to get that fight, the next 2 fights between those guys is going to be, the first fight that they have since the last fiasco in Vegas. It's a stupid question to ask you. Would you pay for pay-per-view, Big C? Your thoughts?
I don't pay for pay-per-view at any time, but I've found ways to get around that.
Yeah.
But the fight is a must-see fight because you always want the rematch. I mean, the way that Fury dominated Wilder, people want to think that it's an anomaly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an anomaly. People, like I say, people in America get all excited about the guy who knocks people out. And that's what a heavyweight champion is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have to knock out some quality opponents along the way. And that's something we did not see. We didn't see him fight Joshua.
Yeah.
We didn't see him fight Ruiz, which were 2 ranked heavyweights.
Yeah.
They're not on his ledger. So, as I say, when you go down the list, you got to give me some quality. It's like going down the street in a Mercedes and you look on the other side of the street, there's a Pinto.
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder was that Mercedes. The other guys were Pintos that he was fighting.
Yeah.
They did not stand a chance. All of a sudden, he ran up against a Bentley in Tyson Fury and found out there was a bigger car than what he was driving.
Yeah, it could be a bigger car. So everybody says they're on a big end, and I think you talked about it yesterday. I've been hearing more about it over the day. I guess the pre-fight costume was about 40 to 45 pounds. I don't know how heavy a football helmet is, but I'm going to say maybe 3 or 4 pounds. But to wear
5 pounds.
5-pound football helmet, but 40-something pounds. If it's that heavy, why would you wear it for like more than 2-3 minutes? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about that, Charlton. They brought out the costume.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about today.
Yeah.
You're making that as an excuse. You think that was the first time he had tried the costume on? It was custom made, Charlton.
Yeah.
He knew what the weight of that costume was prior to the fight. He knew what the weight of that costume was a week before the fight.
Yeah.
So if he felt that costume was going to wear him out from that 100-foot walk from the locker room to the ring, Charlton, this is when the excuses start.
Yeah.
You start trying to sell people a bunch of wolf tickets for why you got your butt kicked.
Yeah.
And you're going to say, well, the costume wore me out. I carried 45 pounds on my back for 15 minutes, and I couldn't take that.
Yeah.
Have you ever run with a weighted jacket, Charlton? We used to work out with those legs, with those weighted jackets that weighed 45, 60 pounds, go out on runs with them to make us stronger. Now, you were walking. You weren't doing physical competition walking with that suit on. It wasn't like he was sprinting. All he was doing was carrying it. And he's going to say that took his legs away from him, Charlton?
Yeah.
No, Tyson Fury took his legs away from him with the butt whooping that he was passing out.
Yeah, it's all fair and level war. We wish everybody nothing but the best. No matter what happens, Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I want to take this date back in black history, February 25th, 1964. On this date, Ali listed number 1. Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, punished heavyweight champion Sonny Liston and declared a winner by a TKO over the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. And at that point, he became Muhammad Ali.
He became Muhammad Ali, and you can become Muhammad Ali too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.